Hello, my name is Mariam and
I'm Hania, and today we'll be interviewing you today. What's your name?
So I'm Nergis Ahmed.
how's your day been so far?
It's been all right, actually. And normally I wake up very early, so I've had a really good routine in the last few weeks where I get up really, really early, like 5:30, something like crazy like that. But today, because it was weekend and because I went to the gym yesterday, I'm super tired. So a bit of a slow morning, I'd say. Normally I'm up and bright and ready, but today it's been a bit quieter, chilled.
Yeah. What do you spend your time doing, like your job or career?
Okay, so what, my work?
Yeah.
So I do two different things. I've got two different roles. The first thing I'll talk about that I've been doing for a long time, which is 20 years. I'm a speech and language therapist, so I work with children who struggle with talking. They might not have any kind of speech, any words, or there might be children who might have a diagnosis like a learning difficulty or they're autistic and they've got difficulty with trying to get their message across to others. So I work with those children and I support parents and I support school staff and nurseries to try and help them find ways to learn more communication and how to reach their communication potential, which means that some children might not learn loads and loads of language and not be able to speak loads. So we reach kind of like try and get to the point where they can learn as much as they can. So if they can't speak, then we teach other ways to communicate. So it could be sign language, it could be through we use pictures and visuals, so like symbols and photographs and things like that. And I teach lots of people how to kind of use that. So I've been doing that for 20 years. So here in the UK, I worked in the NHS for 16 years doing that. And then just before COVID hit, I left the NHS and I set up my own business because I really wanted to kind of spend more time with the families. In the NHS, you kind of move to different teams, so you don't. And whenever a parent would ask me, "Do you think my child?" Biggest question I get is, "Do you think my child is going to be able to talk?" And actually, I didn't really know a good answer to that because I'd never seen the child from when they were like 2 all the way to when they were 16, 17, 18. I wouldn't work with them that long because in the NHS, you end up moving off to kind of different departments or the child moves somewhere else. So I really wanted to kind of be able to get to know and spend more time with families, and I thought I can't do it here in the NHS. I have to do my own thing. And my husband, he was like, "You can do this. Come on, you can step into this and you can own it." So I've set up my own business, and I've been doing my own business as a speech language therapist for 5 years. And then the other part of my week, in the last few years, I've had 4 children. And each child I've had, you gain a bit more weight, you especially pack it on in your stomach area. And I've just started gaining more and more weight for me, and I wasn't feeling healthy after my daughter nearly 3 years ago now. I was feeling really unhealthy and I wasn't eating well and I just felt really sluggish and not very healthy at all. So I was like, this is not good. And then one day just something clicked in my head and I was like, right, I need to sort myself out. And I'd done some training in coaching women, so coaching people and how to support them to kind of change. And I'd received coaching myself personally by coaches in the past. And I really, really I love transformation, I love change, and I like to see people move from improving their lives from one bit to another. And that's from like the speech therapy to now with adults. So I took some courses, women's health coaching, and the other part of the week now, the last few years, I've been working on my business as a women's health coach and helping women kind of transform their lives through and become healthier and things like that. I really like that.
That's wonderful. What's your own personal journey to getting there?
Personally, with the speech therapy, it was just like a standard thing where you go to school and all these what your career options. It's very hard when you're young, like to know what you want to be and what to do. So then I just kind of after that I thought, right, I'll just look into different things. And then at college we did more career kind of choices and things, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew what I did look at was I liked working with children and I liked kind of like the whole caring side of things and supporting people. So I thought, right, I need to look into career like that. So I kind of saw speech therapy as one of the things in the NHS because I thought I want an NHS type job. Maybe that's caring, helping people, looking after people. And then I found the degree to it and I really liked it. So it was a 4-year degree, but in that degree you do lots of placements. You go out and you work in the community or you work in hospitals and you get to do not just learning like theory, but it's like practice. So I just went for it. So I just chose that when I was at college, and that kind of led me to fall into speech therapy. And even doing the degree, I was like, I don't really know what this is. I don't know what speech therapist is. After doing 1 year, 2 years, and by the second year, I think I felt as if like, I think I know what this is and I'm liking it. So that kind of led me to do that. And I think as being a younger, in my family, I was the first person. I'm one of 5 sisters and 1 brother, and I'm like the middle child. So I was the first person to do a degree. So I think for me, it was just, I was really determined kind of in my house, coming from a working class family, to push myself and to better myself. And I knew that our education was one of the biggest things that they would kind of like respect, and everybody kind of like was talking about how to kind of achieve that, because none of us really had. My other sisters didn't get a chance and that opportunity to do it, and I did. And I thought, right, I need to take this. I need to do a degree. I need to make a decision. So that's kind of what led me to that. And I've kind of explained with the women's health coaching what's led me to that with my 4 children, and gaining weight, not feeling healthy, getting older, seeing people around me kind of having health issues. My mum had cancer. She was diagnosed with that quite a few years ago, and seeing kind of that kind of battle with her health, and just kind of opens up your eyes to how really kind of scary things like that can be, but how important looking after your health is. So those are the things kind of led me to these 2 areas.
What does a health and fitness coach mean? What is your day-to-day?
Okay, so with that, it's I do a lot of online support. So it's not, I'm not the kind of coach where I like to hide out a place or a gym, or I'm not kind of at that stage yet. Maybe it's something in the future, but right now I support women online. So it's I help women who might, and it depends, it really varies, like according to what they want to work on. But it could be somebody who wants to develop, kind of become stronger, fitter, lose weight, especially. Health, it can be anything health related. Let's say they've got a diagnosis of something and they want to instill new habits, and they want to be able to learn to walk, learn like new kind of which I say kind of skills, like learn how to kind of use equipment in the gym. They've never been to the gym. Let's say they want to not go to the gym, but they want to increase their fitness levels, but at home. And how can they do that without going to the gym, or avoiding some things that they don't like? So it's finding ways in which they can become healthier, stronger, fitter within their body, and let's say if they have got a health issue, then it's helping them to find a way to kind of implement that. So let's say they've got they've got a lot of back pain or something like that, or they've been diagnosed with like a condition, which means that they've got to be able to change the way that they eat, and nutrition is a big thing about what I do. So if they need to change their diet and things like that, and they know that they're struggling to do it on their own, so what a coach does is that they help a person, they hold you accountable, meaning accountable means that they help you kind of check in with you, so that you're kind of moving forward and improving each and every time that they're checking in, and help you set a plan. So I help women kind of set a plan in terms of how they're gonna work out, like the new eating schedule or the new fitness regime that they're going to do either at home or out and about. So I've got one woman who's stopped going to the gym, and she's going to solely just work on just improving her walking, because that's increasing her fitness. She now can go on hikes. So it could be a personal goal that they've got, and I would help them reach that.
Yeah. What do you enjoy most about your job?
Okay, it's 2 jobs. Okay, I'll go with speech therapy first, and I'll tell you about the fitness and health coaching. Speech therapy, what I enjoy most is I love it when a child has done something new and they've learned a new skill, and I'm like, yay! So, for example, I've given a very personal one recently. I think it was this week. I saw a little girl that I've been working with for nearly 2 years. And she's autistic, and she has a little bit of language, so she'll use mainly single words or like short phrases, like just 2 words. And so she's still learning to kind of communicate like socially with us and speak. She won't be able to hold a conversation with you. She's 5 years old. And just recently, she doesn't use a lot of eye contact as well. So when you try and play with her, she's often in her own world, doing her own thing. And so it's about kind of trying to engage with her and get her to connect with you and look back at you and give you something and say something to you. That's the kind of thing that we've been working on. So recently she said, so I was leaving, I was like, right, I'm going to go now. Bye. And I said her name and everything, I'm going. And then the teaching assistant I was with her, she said kind of like, oh, bye, Nergis. And then she turned around and said, bye, something like, it sounded like market. But she actually said my name, and I was like, oh my God. So I've been working with her for like nearly 2 years. She's never said my name. And it was really nice that kind of like she's learned to kind of say my name. And I knew it was because the teaching assistant said it again. She goes, oh, it's Nergis, say bye, Nergis. And then she went, bye, Market. So it sounded like crazy, but nothing really like Nergis, but it was her own way of saying my name. So that's what really makes me feel kind of makes my day, things like that. And in terms of the health and fitness, it's when a parent, not parent, same parent, a woman will text me and she'll say, one of my clients, and she'll say, oh, I've finally lost like a certain amount of weight, or I've lost 1 kg in the last 2 weeks. I'm like, wow, it's amazing. And just seeing that they are, when they come to me and over time, because I know the first conversations I have with them about what they're worried about, what they're concerned about, and then a few kind of sessions down the line, they're telling me new things that then I'm like seeing the improvement, even though they're not seeing it, and I can see it. And then it's that moment in which they realize themselves like, oh my gosh, I've lost that weight, or I do feel fitter now when I'm lifting up the kids and I can walk down the street and with my child and take her to nursery and not feel tired anymore. So those kind of little wins are they're the things that I really like.
When you meet someone for the first time who wants to get into health and fitness, what would you tell them or do with them?
Good question. I'd probably ask them more questions. So a lot of coaching is about asking, rather than just giving them advice and throwing lots of ideas at them, because there's lots of stuff that you can tell somebody to do or advise them and guide them. But with coaching, it's about delving in a bit more and deeper about what the issue really is. Like, so I'd probably ask them more questions about, well, what it is that they're actually doing at the moment, like how much are they moving, have they ever been to the gym, how do they feel within their own body, do they have any aches and pains. So it's really important to do like a bit of a mini assessment, just to kind of, even if it's in a conversation, just say, well, how much are you moving now, and what is it that you do at the moment, how do you feel about kind of like doing exercise and things like that. So, and then ask them if they've got any health issues, what are their concerns, what are their worries. Those are the kind of things that I'd probably start with. And then also probably big, like I said, big thing that people often overlook with health and fitness is what you eat and what we put into our body. And it's about looking after kind of what goes in. It's like people look after their cars and they put really like, the petrol, they service their cars and things like that. We don't necessarily do the same thing with our bodies. We don't, not looking after what's going inside and knowing what it is that we're kind of fueling ourselves on a day-to-day basis. So I'd definitely talk to them about nutrition at some point as well.
Let's talk about gyms. They can feel really scary as a woman. How do you overcome that?
That's a really good question. I like that because I think I did an Instagram post on that recently. I'll see if I can remember it. No, that's a really good question. I think some women do have talked to me about that. And like I've mentioned before, sometimes we can do like, let's avoid the gym if you want to avoid it. Do you want to avoid it? Do you really want to go to the gym? And I'd advise if they do want to go to the gym, and like so in terms of avoiding, I mean, I'd probably say like you can get health and fitness in other ways. So you can. I've actually recently started working out at home, and I like going to the gym. That's my time out, my way to kind of work out and do my kind of like health fitness fix. But sometimes it's not easy. I mean, you've got children, you're managing your job, you don't have the time. So I've had to find a way to do working out at home. So it is a challenge when you want to do something new, and if they, looking at whether they really want to go to the gym, is that something they want to do? Or again, it's asking them questions about what blocks is kind of have they put in their way about going to the gym. So looking at their mindset. I haven't mentioned mindset, but that's a big thing about health and fitness as well, is like what your mindset leads you into kind of often blocks you from doing things. It's how you're thinking around something is often that thing that will stop you from going. And my journey myself was, right, I'm now going to do it. And it's like that in my head, I was ready mentally to be starting to kind of learn to kind of lose weight, get fitter and healthy and things like that. So so I'd probably ask them a few more questions like I'm saying. And I'd probably, if they really do want to go to the gym, then I'd say, visit the gym, maybe visit it with a friend so they're not feeling like they're on their own, and go and do a bit of research about what the local gyms are, what spaces there are. And if it's for ladies, is it important you want a ladies only space? Because quite a few gyms now have got like ladies only sections. I found a spa recently I was looking at, and they had a ladies only there. I was like, oh, that's brilliant. So it's looking for that and get them to do research rather than me telling them, because it's a big part of coaching and supporting women is that they are empowered to do it themselves, and I'm not necessarily just doing it all for them, because then they'll rely on that, become reliant on me, and it's all about giving them the power, and they realise that they can do it themselves.
Did you find it difficult to become a health and fitness coach as a Muslim woman?
That's a really good question. I really like your questions. It depends. I'm trying to think. If I was going to go into work in a gym or something like that, maybe I would feel a bit more self-conscious, like wearing a hijab, being a Muslim woman. I think I'd feel as if that's not really my space. Because even I don't really like busy gyms and things like that. I can get a bit like, oh, I don't really like it. And actually, when I go to the gym, I go to gym classes. I don't necessarily go and use the machines where it's so busy. So I might have a bit of a kind of thing about that myself. But so it depends on, for me, no, because I'm working online. So, and my space is that online space where I feel a bit like there's more freedom. But if I was working in an actual workplace and I was like a PT, like, personal trainer, that kind of thing, I would probably feel a bit like self-conscious about being kind of like a Muslim lady, kind of fitness person. But my husband really likes that. Like I'm into that, and he's really kind of, and my children quite like it as well. That my boys, I've got teenage boys, and they can share their kind of like gymming and stuff with me, and I get it. Or I'm interested in them because this is kind of like my field. But so it depends where I'd be, that I'd feel a bit like slightly self-conscious of it. Online, not so much. I think online, it's more about kind of like being seen on social media. I do feel a bit like, oh, it's a bit cringy. Got to take, videos of myself working. I don't really like that. So, yeah, I can be a little bit self-conscious even online. So it is a little bit challenging. But then, I speak to other women who don't like being like seen on camera and things like that. So I don't know if it's necessarily to do with being Muslim, but it can. I can see the link too. So I don't know if that's a bit of a middle kind of answer there.
What are the stereotypes you had to fight to make it?
To make it in what I'm doing now?
Yeah.
So for me, I think when I was younger, going to uni, I was the first person in my family to go to uni, and I think I struggled with the whole kind of like cultural thing of being independent and doing your own thing, where in our culture, and you kind of stay together a lot of the times, and it's about making sure that your plan works with the family's plan, and that my plan was slightly different, and I did go off and do my own thing a little bit. But I had really kind of understanding parents, and they were really, I think I also kind of showed them that I was quite mature. I'm laughing because I didn't feel it at the time that I was, but I was making really big decisions around that time because I got married really young. And again, that was me being assertive, and I made that decision, and I came to one of the biggest things I did, challenging things, was stepping out into kind of this space of having that conversation, basically getting the courage and guts to kind of talk to my dad and say I want to get married. And I was only 18, so I was really young. And I think the bigger thing, not bigger, but another big thing before that again was stepping out and actually putting my hijab on, because I was at college and nobody wore hijab. I think there was one girl and no one really covered then. And I felt like this is going to be a big thing, and my friends are going to look at me really strangely. And I did get comments, like people from my own, like even family, like my auntie was like, oh gosh, So that was really challenging. That was hard. That kind of overcoming these kind of barriers in your life, but they make you stronger, and you have these experiences that you can share with others. I can share with my children, and they might not necessarily want to listen to me, but they might, their own parents saying these things. They don't want to learn life lessons from their mum probably, but I can share with others. And I'm now hoping to help more, now that I've kind of gone through things like that. I feel as if I can help others who are in the community, from a Muslim community especially, ethnic minority communities who struggle with stepping out and fear of being kind of doing something different, deviating from like what they think is culturally kind of maybe holding them back, and also in a society where you are an ethnic, person of an ethnic minority, you are a minority. So kind of having the courage and confidence to step into that, battling against that, where visibly being different to a lot of people, like in society, in the schools and colleges, uni, your workplace, in the NHS. I was the only Muslim speech therapist for a long time. And so everything was a very kind of like a white culture, and they'd go out and meet at pubs and things like that, and things that were really different and that I don't have experience of, and where there's red lines that I draw, and I've got to be able to have that courage to say, oh, is it all right if we don't meet at the pub, that kind of thing. So the things that got me to where I am today are those things that challenged me, are those difficulties that I faced. The biggest ones, like actually even going even further back, was my dad left my mum for 8 years, and so my mum was a single parent, and it's about we had to grow up quite fast. That was one, and then after that was wearing hijab. I'd kind of do a bit of a timeline here now. Wearing hijab, and then in college when no one else really was, and then after that it was telling my dad, like a year or two later, that I literally want to get married, kind of really young. If my kids were that young, they'd say, I'd be like, oh my God. But yeah, so I wanted to get married, having that conversation with my dad, because I knew he was going to say no. I knew he was going to say, and he did say no. And then getting married without my dad being there, and going kind of against my family. And after that, it was just kind of other little scary things like starting uni, going to uni in another city and on my own, that kind of thing. Actually, I was married, so I had a husband technically. And then after that, getting my job, being in the NHS, being a Muslim person in my community, my team, where I was the only person doing that. And then after that, actually, big thing was leaving the NHS and letting go of these things, which I kind of like held on to such a long time. That was really hard for me. Just like telling my boss that I'm going to do my own thing. That was hard. And then with the health and fitness coaching is how can I kind of incorporate something I really enjoy and I really like to something that I've been doing for such a long time. And even now I'm battling both. So there's constant challenges.
If you had a magic wand and could change one thing in the industry, what would it be?
I think with what my experience of learning, like having actual proper coaching, like where transformational coaching is called, I think, in some fields, and receiving that myself and then learning to do that myself, that is something which I think a lot of workplaces are still not, they've not got it. Every workplace should have a coach that helps that person personally and then professionally in the job that they're in. And even like out in the community, there should be more coaching out there, because it really does help you and empower you to improve your life, really. And a lot of coaches who go into coaching, they're really, really serious about it. They love it. They're quite passionate. They've done really good kind of. It's not accredited. It is accredited. Sorry, it's not regulated really. That needs to happen. So that'd be two things. So have coaching in more places is the answer, and then the other one would be is to have it kind of like accredited. It is accredited, but like more regulated, more kind of like almost like a degree in it, where you get that qualification under your belt and it's recognised. It's not kind of like recognised as highly as maybe other kind of careers, and a lot of people don't know what a coach does, and I have to kind of explain it. But having received it myself personally, having gone through coaching, it's brilliant. It does help somebody move from one step to another step, and then improve and improve and improve. Once you kind of like get the right coach that kind of fits you and what you want to do.
You also have a social media account where you share a lot of advice. How do you think social media has changed how we think about fitness?
I think it's definitely increased in the sense that increased awareness, but I do think there still is a lot of like, this is what social media does, is there's still that kind of like fakeness. I still think that there is a lot of that, and I think with the health and fitness coaching, and I do, and the images that a lot of girls see and women see is of a thin woman, and being a particular type, and I think that's still, although there's more awareness of being looking after your health and things like that, And in this idea, there are kind of some people that share against the grain stuff, but there still is a lot of it I'd see on Instagram myself personally, like women looking thin, and it's all about getting thin and being a particular body type and that kind of stereotype. And I think as a Muslim, so I'm trying to create some kind of videos. I'm like, well, I don't look like that. I'm not showing my body in the way that the clothes that they wear. So it's quite challenging for me. Because I want to be able to kind of like promote myself in a way that and the done thing really is there. So if I look at other people's accounts, like women coaches and stuff like that, where they've got like a little bit of clothing on and they're showing all the muscles off, I can't promote myself like that, and I can't do that. So that's challenging. But I think social media, there's good things about it and there's not good things about it. So that's the answer to it, really.
What did you think you would do for a career when you were 12, and how do you feel about that now?
I love that question because it takes me back to the first thing I ever wanted to be was an astronaut, because I really loved space. I love science, and I was like, I want to go on the moon. I want to go in a spaceship, and I want to go to space, and I want to be an astronaut. And I used to I think as part of my coursework at school, I did IT, and in that you picked a specific topic, and mine was space. And then I wrote to NASA and things like that, and I got some responses back, so I was really into that. And then after that I was a bit realistic, maybe I can't do that. No. And then after that it was something else. But yeah, it was science and space and exploration.
If you could go back in time and tell your 12-year-old self something, what would that be?
Okay, I'd probably say I just have the courage to do just be bold and step into fear, and confidence will come. Because as a young child, I mean, for me, I wasn't really confident. I'm an introvert, so I'm not hugely kind of massively social or whatever. My son's an extrovert, but I'm not like that at all. I am more of an introvert, and I was very introverted as a child, and I did have confidence issues. So I think I'd go back and say, just be bold, and whenever you're scared of something, step into that fear, because you'll grow from that, and that's an experience that you're going to learn from. So even though it's scary, just do it anyway. So that's what I'd probably say.
How do you think your 12-year-old self would respond to that?
I think she'd still be scared, but knowing that somebody's holding her hand maybe would help her kind of take that step into that kind of threshold. So I think it wouldn't alleviate the fear, but it would give her a bit more courage, I think, to do what she wants to do.
You were born in Nottingham, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about wanting to leave Nottingham or move anywhere else?
So when I went to uni, it was in Manchester, so I stayed there for 2 years. And actually there was a point when I wanted to travel, when I was same questions around when I was about 12, 13, that kind of thing about careers. I think another thing after wanting to be an astronaut was when I was in secondary school. After that I was a bit yeah, I don't think that's realistic. After that I wanted to actually be a doctor and for charities out there, doing going to different countries and helping sick children and people, and helping them with their health, and being there to kind of help people who are in need, like poor people and people who are facing tragedies and things like that. So I actually wanted to be a doctor and travel the world and help people. So everything, so get to travel and still do have a career and still help people in the community. So yeah, I kind of did want to travel, and I like going on holidays and things like that to different countries, and I like learning little bits of languages and learn about other cultures. I really like that. So although I've born and bred here, I have moved a little bit, but not a lot. I've only really lived in Manchester, and that's it.
You're a very active person in the community. What is it about Nottingham that makes being in a community so much better?
I think in Nottingham it doesn't feel like a massively big city like London, where there's when you go there so much going on. You did kind of where do you fit in, and where can you kind of find your kind of own kind of community, or feel like you're kind of part of stuff. and I think Nottingham's kind of like not too big like that, and it's not too small. It's like a tiny village where everybody knows everyone, and like you don't get to meet new people. It's a really good balance in between. So and there's some really good stuff, like really good kind of community initiatives. I feel as if there's quite a few active groups out there in our own Muslim community. We've got quite a few things going on, but there's still like things that we need to do more. And I'm really keen to kind of to work with other, like lots of kind of any community initiatives that I see kind of like starting up. I'm really interested in looking at kind of like services for like Muslim girls, young girls especially, because I've got young girls, but our own Muslim community, because recently there's been a lot of kind of information shared about like how kind of we are educationally very behind, and actually there is a lot of poverty in our community, and I feel as if I'm at a stage now where I'd like to give more back to our own community, whereas before it was like just everyone and anyone, and my work is very much that still, but I want to be able to give something back closely within Nottingham, so give something back to Nottingham, but in our own community too. But yeah, it's great. I think there is lots of kind of new things happening now, but there is kind of, I do feel as if there's more that needs to be done.
What does your faith mean to you, and what's it like being a Muslim woman living in Nottingham?
Okay, so my faith is a big part of kind of my driving force of like who I am and what I do and the decisions that I make. It's my kind of first identity, I'd say. So I say I'm a Muslim fitness health and coach, or something like that, or a Muslim speech therapist, and it's that there kind of like it underpins everything that I try and, not everything, but loads of stuff that I try and do. It's always there. It's part of my daily life. It's a big part of me and my kind of decision making that I make for myself and my children, and especially now where I've got children and I'm aware that they're being brought up in a very mixed society, which is good because I think it helps them be kind of balanced and grounded. But I also fear, big fear is that they might become a bit too kind of like, or go one way and lead them away from my religion and my culture and things like that. So it's very important now because I've got children, and it's looking at how they are growing up. So I want that to be hopefully kind of trickle down to them. So I try and do more things around kind of my religion, being Muslim woman, so that my children can see that as a role model, and hopefully still kind of have that kind of, they've got friends of all the different faiths and non-faiths and communities, but then also we have this as well, where they can kind of it still ties them to kind of our beliefs, which I feel very strongly about. Sorry, I didn't know what was the other part of your question?
What's it like being a Muslim woman living in Nottingham?
So in Nottingham, it's well, if I look back at working the NHS and being a Muslim Muslim speech therapist in the NHS, I actually gave the good thing about that was I was able to work in different like areas in Nottingham where there is mainly like white, and there aren't many kind of, it's not very multicultural. And although that scared me a little bit, or they were like very, very rough areas, like inner city areas, me growing up in an inner city area and coming from a working class kind of background made me not as scared really, but I felt good that I'm representing my faith as a Muslim woman, wearing a hijab. I'm very visibly Muslim, and I'm going to a very white area where there might be kind of like rough people here, and they might not have met a Muslim woman before. So I felt really kind of like courage and emboldened by that, and really good about it, because I wanted them to be able to speak to me in a professional capacity and realise that, we're not all that bad or something, whatever stereotypes that they have about Muslim women, that hopefully can dispel some of that. So it's been challenging in Nottingham, I say, because there are so many kind of areas where there are kind of, they're not very multicultural, but being there in a professional capacity has helped me to kind of hopefully help break down some barriers and things like that. So I think it's important that we do try and find ways to kind of mix in with the community so that we get those conversations with people going, and it's not all based on like what they learn from the media or something. But yeah, it's not easy. It's been challenging, and I think it still will be. But like I say, it's nice though, because it's not because like I said, there's a lot of kind of projects and things like that that are up and coming where they're kind of not dispelling, but like creating, like hopefully kind of breaking those kind of barriers down. That's what it is. And I really love kind of like projects where they're doing more outreach to other like communities, and where we're working together with others, and doing kind of like more charitable stuff. I'm very big into kind of like doing charity stuff, because that's a big part of our religion, is to give away, like help people around you, and it's not just your own community but others. And I think that's a way that maybe non-Muslims would see the beauty of our religion and what we're about, because that's a big part of what we're about, is about being kind and giving and being loving to others. And I think Nottingham, we've got some of those projects up and running at the moment, and hopefully that'll carry on.
What's your favourite place in Nottingham and why?
Okay, what's my favourite place? At the moment, I haven't got one. I was talking to my husband about this actually earlier today, because I was like, they were asking me to bring a prop in, and I was like, oh, it's like, you're not really massively like sentimental about one particular thing, although I'm a big hoarder. I do hoard like memorabilia and stuff like that, but I haven't got like one particular place. But I do love open spaces, because last year we started a walking group for Muslim women and girls, and my husband takes the men, and sometimes we do family ones where they mix, and in those, that's really got me loving the outdoors. And I kind of always did, because I did camping and things like that when my children were younger. We like the outdoors. My husband's friends call him the Muslim Bear Grylls, that kind of thing, because we do a lot of outdoor activities. So actually, I just like outdoor spaces a lot. And I like local parks. So like we've got Woollerton Park, which is a big one, obviously, that's lovely. But there's loads of others that we've discovered through my walking group. And I'm still learning more about like spaces, green spaces in Nottingham even now. And I love that when I bring people to walk with us, they're like, we've never seen this part of Nottingham before. And I love it when somebody comes and they're like, I've never been here. And I'm like, yay, I brought them somewhere new. So there isn't a particular one, but I do like the green space in Nottingham, for lots of parks, outdoor spaces, things like that.
If you could broadcast a message to the whole world, what would that be?
I think it'd be look for the good in other people, look for the positives and kindness and things about, and try to get on with anyone. I think just being like, look for good in people, because I feel as if right now, in the way the world is at the moment, there's a lot of negativity, there's conflicts and wars and things like that going on, and it's really sad. So I think people are forgetting humanity and forgetting that we're humans, and that we should try and learn to like love each other is a very strong word, but like get on with each other and respect each other. So biggest thing is look for the good in another person, and look for something that you can pick out in that person that is nice, or something positive about them, rather than looking at maybe something they've said or something that they've done. Or I think if we're more forgiving and try and find like common ground with people, that I think we'd have less conflict in the world, I think.
Yeah. If you could give young girls like us any advice, what advice would that be?
I would say, don't be afraid to try new things, and don't be afraid to try anything like that you think is slightly interesting. And it's about the don't be afraid, or even if you are afraid, like what I've mentioned before, is step into your fear, because that fear will change. Once you do something new that's slightly uncomfortable, hugely uncomfortable, massively scary, once you've done it, you'll feel a bit like, oh, actually I feel a lot different now, and oh, maybe I want to do that again. And you might realise that, oh, I actually don't like it and I'm not going to do that again. But you're not going to learn more about yourself until you do those things that you're not sure about. So don't close don't close the doors. My daughter does this a lot. She's 12 and she's a bit like, oh no, I don't want to do that. Like, just have a try it, and then experience it. And then at least you've given it a go.
Thank you so much for coming and being a part of this. We really appreciate your stories, and your stories have been really interesting.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate you giving me the space to talk to you. It's been quite nice, actually.